Hello students, I'm going to be reviewing the syllabus with you all now. And so again, hopefully this answers any of the questions that you might have, but definitely reach out if you have additional questions. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see the syllabus right along with me. All right, so hopefully you see the syllabus. I kind of cut the beginning of the syllabus. You can take a look at that in your own time. It has a lot of the same policies and procedures as most syllabus do. I've included a section on Netiquette, and so this is a list of some things to just be careful of when you're writing or recording your discussion post. Remember that if you're doing videos, you can show body language and tone of voice and all of that stuff, but in text you can't. And so this goes over some things to be very mindful of. So, writing in all caps can seem like shouting at another person, and make sure you're checking for grammar and spelling errors that make it really hard to understand your point or the view that you're trying to get across. And so take a look at those so that you have a good idea of what I'm expecting in your discussion post. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the textbook. We do have, most of our readings are going to come from this intercultural counseling textbook, and then there's going to be some supplemental readings that are all posted on Canvas. And so I absolutely love this textbook, and I love it for a lot of reasons. The first is it stops us from learning about cross-cultural counseling from a perspective of all of the stereotypes of different groups and identifying ways to work with them as a counselor that are just very stereotypical and not accurate in a lot of cases, and really looking at all of the different groups and identities as monoliths instead of recognizing our individual differences. And so I love that this textbook does that. The second part I love is the authors, a variety of authors of the textbook. There are different intersecting identities, but also at the end of every chapter, there's a review by a few, some cases one, but sometimes in most cases more than one person on their feedback based on their identities, their intersecting identities on that chapter. And so it gives you a lot of different perspectives from a lot of different people. And so I've really found this one to be a great textbook to work with, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. In addition, one of the weeks, I think it's week 3, you're going to be looking at some of the competencies. All of the ACA divisions competencies can be found at this link. They're listed here, and then they're also linked individually on the Canvas page for that week. These are the texts that you have some supplemental reading from, primarily Lee's book, Counseling for Social Justice, but you have a few from Counseling the Culturally Diverse from Sue and Sue, which is one of the most popular and prevalent textbooks. And this is a textbook that we used to use in the program, the Pedersen et al. Counseling Across Cultures. So they make some pretty good resources to use. Here are some organizations that would be relevant to the work that we're doing this semester. They're the organizations that created those counseling competencies to an extent. And again, they are highlighted here because you're linked directly to their page. So if there are any organizations you're interested in, you can find out a little bit more about them and possibly even join and get involved. All right, so starting with discussion forums, like I addressed in the last video, I want these class discussions to be what you need them to be, and hopefully you can walk away with the information that you don't already have, some new viewpoint or perspective or something like that, because we're all starting in different places. And I also want you to spend some time identifying whether or how much of that response needs to be verbal. And so you do a video and how much of it needs to be written and to what extent and things like that. So kind of take that and run with it for the most part. There is a requirement to reply to at least 2 other students in the class. I believe in the last recording I said only 1, but you need to respond to at least 2 other students. These are 20 points each. You have 10 throughout the semester, so it's a total of 20% of your grade. Most of these are going to have you listen to 1 or more of the podcasts that are listed for the week. There are some that don't, that kind of focus on some other areas. There are some that ask you, I know one week that there's like I think 10 or something podcasts listed, and I'm asking you to select at least one of them to listen to, but you may want to listen to more than one, and also engage with your peers that had listened to maybe the same podcast and some peers that didn't. And so again, another way for us to connect and learn from one another. They are due by Thursday night, your initial posting, and then by Sunday, I expect the replies. For the most part, I'm pretty lenient with due dates, and if you fall a little bit behind on these due dates, I'm okay with it. But discussion posts, because there's an interactive component with your peers, try to get those initial posts by Sunday so that your peers have something to respond to. So work with each other in that way. And so hopefully you can get those in, by Thursday evening, and then your responses hopefully by that Sunday. Next, we're going to take a look at assignments. And so for this course, we do not have any quizzes. And again, the reason is because this topic area I feel like is so subjective in nature, and there are differences that exist between all of us individually. And so it's kind of hard to test for that. And so instead, we're going to focus on assignments. And so we do have 5 assignments this semester. And so I know that sounds like a lot, but 4 of the assignments all work together with one another. Really, actually, all 5 do, but I'm going to explain that a little bit further. So we're going to have what's called a personal cultural development portfolio. And so you're going to do 4 assignments that all encompass that. And so the first is the personal cultural identity presentation. And so you're going to create a PowerPoint. You can do voiceover in the PowerPoint, or you can record yourself through Zoom presenting the PowerPoint and then upload it to Canvas. So whatever is most comfortable for you. But here are the instructions that you want to include your ethnic and cultural background. You can include a genogram, discuss qualities of your background that are prominent in your life, or maybe some that aren't, some experiences that have really connected you to your culture or background in different ways. And then what are the cultural values that you currently hold? So you can take a look at these discussion questions and include them all in the presentation. Images, links, videos, articles, whatever you want to include. The best way to kind of show me who you are. And so some guiding questions for consideration are included here. So you can you don't have to answer these bullet point, but just things to think about as you're creating your presentation. The second part of this project is the second assignment. It's identifying cultural competency growth areas. So taking a look at your experiences and what your implicit biases may be, how do they ultimately play out, or how could they play out? What are some biases that maybe I hold that I'm denying? And as we know, if we deny them, then they might act out without our awareness. And so it's important to be as aware as possible. And so you're going to identify some ways that you can kind of break out of your norm and kind of do things a little bit differently. Had some experiences to enhance your knowledge and everything, so that maybe you can be more of a culturally sensitive and culturally humble counselor. And so here there are a couple parts of this assignment listed here. You are ultimately going to be making a plan for the semester. And so this plan includes at least 1 book and some kind of movie or documentary that's going to expand your knowledge base. And so I ask that you let me know what they are so that I can approve them and say, yeah, this is going to work, or that might not be a credible source, so that we can make sure that you're getting the best information possible. And you can also identify some experiential activities that you might engage in. Now, with COVID, obviously, we want to be safe and not put ourselves in situations that are risky, but also we want to be culturally sensitive. We don't want to just show up in someone else's safe space for our own learning and knowledge. So, if you're going to attend a worship service of a religion different than yours, or some kind of club or meeting that relates to people of different identities, again, you want to make sure that you're either invited or that you have communication beforehand, and don't just sort of show up and capitalize on their time or make their safe space unsafe. So again, that's something that we can talk about if you have questions about that. Your third assignment that's due is actually the 5th assignment that's listed. So I'm going to say that one is due next, but as far as this project with the 4 parts, the third part, which is actually due fourth, as far as timeline, is a personal growth book review. So that book that you selected, you're going to be expected to read it, and then you're going to discuss it in 2 to 4 pages. And so here are some guiding questions. You can definitely talk about as much as you want about the book, but these are some things to kind of guide you and help you as far as what I'm expecting from that review that you're going to submit. And then the final part of that project, which is actually the 5th assignment that's due this semester, your final assignment for the semester, is the final project reflection. So you're going to do a 3 to 6 page reflection about your experience with all of those activities. Where are you coming out from the end of the semester differently than you came into the semester? Here are some guiding questions, some components that I want you to include in the paper. You can add references and citations if you'd like. You don't have to in a reflection, but if you do add them, make sure you're citing them properly and adding a reference page at the end. This should still be an APA format, even though citations are not required. And same kind of goes for the other assignments as well. And here, I don't think any of them require citations, but if you do include them, make sure they're cited properly. Okay. So our final assignment that's actually due 3rd, so it's due around mid-semester, is your cultural interview and analysis paper. This is your task stream assignment for the semester. So you're going to be actually getting it out of the way relatively early in the semester. What you're going to do is you're going to select an individual or a family from a culture different than yours. You're going to spend some time interviewing them. You're going to create interview questions and spend some time with them. You do not have to record this interaction. If you do record it, I want you to destroy it once you're finished using it. I do not want you to turn in the recording. I do want you to have an informed consent signed by the individual so that they understand what the purpose of this assignment is and what you're going to be doing with this paper, that it's going to be confidential and you're not going to include their name or specific information. And then once you're done with the interview, here are some guiding questions to do the interview and to help you to write that reflection paper. And so again, this one's going to be due about halfway through the semester. You're going to receive feedback on it long before you submit it or need to submit it for task stream, but that'll be the 3rd one due, and then you have the last 2 components of that portfolio that you're going to finish up the semester with. And so again, I know that it sounds like a lot of assignments, but we don't have any quizzes. We only have 10 discussion questions, and we're not going to have any synchronous meeting time. So I really want you to invest yourself in the readings, invest yourself in any of the supplemental videos and podcasts and assignments, so that hopefully you can get out of the semester what it is that you really need to move forward as a culturally humble counselor. And I think that's basically it for the syllabus. It goes over point values for all of the assignments and the grade range. Again, the course calendar just goes over the topics we're covering each week, what the readings are, and any assignments that might be due, which you can also find on Canvas. We have a week off for Thanksgiving, so you don't have any assignments that week. Gives you a little extra week in the end of the semester to finish stuff up. Again, supplemental readings from Lee and Sue, and that is it. So any questions, feel free to let me know. But otherwise, hopefully this was helpful in getting started this semester.